Happy Cinco de Mayo, ladies and gentlemen. We're here back with your favorite Orange County Soccer Club-based podcast, and maybe one of the best FIFA esport video game podcasts nowadays. Now that seems like we're covering on our show on the past month and a half or so. But we got some stuff to talk about. We got a bunch of guests. Let's get started with this. This is the Orange and Black SoccerCast.
Towards the near post, the flick, and it's in! Darwin Jones with the response for Orange County. And it is a massive one, off the goal, dominant in the last 10.
Forrester in the middle now, gets around a few defenders. Forrester with the outside of the right foot. What a strike by Harry Forrester. It's the opening goal for Orange County. He's looking for Hugh, heads it down, back post, opportunity and a goal! A beautiful goal by Orange County.
This is the Orange and Black SoccerCast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black SoccerCast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black SoccerCast, presented by Ruffneck, Scarves, and Icarus FC. We are the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I am with you pretty much every single episode, except for that one that I missed, where Dylan handled it greatly, was awesome. Dylan Allen. Here, let's jump right into it. I need to introduce my co-host, Dylan Allen from Counterline Coalition. Dylan, how are you doing?
It's going well. I don't know if I rocked it on that podcast, though. I don't think Alan and I agree with that. Alan, how are you down in San Diego?
I'm doing fantastic. It is a little warm again, but the dogs love it. They like recharge their batteries, I think, laying out in the sun. So things are good here.
Perfect. Look at Dylan just did the smooth transition. I didn't even have to speak with that transition between the two of you. You guys are getting the hang of it. We have a few guests joining us. First, let me introduce a returning guest that just at the beginning of this video game soccer lifestyle, and he is from Seriously Loco, and that's Christian Canales. Christian, welcome back to the Orange and Black SoccerCast. Wondering if we are having some technical issues with Christian. So let's move right along really quick. We'll see what if we can get him back on the line. Hey, this is what happens when you do live broadcasts, right? Let's welcome our other guest. This is a first-time guest on our show, all the way from the East Coast, spending a late night time with us. He is also the voice of the eUSL, is a co-host on Nutmeg State, and that is Myke Furhman. Myke, welcome to the Orange and Black SoccerCast.
Don't worry, I'm here, guys. Good to see you. Thanks
that
for
works
having
out.
me on. Yeah, it's a nice, cold, brisk Cinco de Mayo night here in Connecticut. Thanks for having me on, guys.
And it is a nice, warm Cinco de Mayo here in Southern California. As many of you know, I record in our garage with no kind of air conditioning or heating. So on a warm day, it gets decently hot down here. So if you start seeing some glowing on my forehead, that probably is. Before we go any further, I got to introduce one additional guest here, and this is a returning guest. He joined us, about 9 months ago, I believe, after an amazing first goal for Orange County, where he got the late winner. It was against Tulsa, if I'm getting it correctly. Am I getting it right, Dylan?
Yep, Tulsa.
Kevin's going to do it.
You got to introduce
the
him
man
now.
himself, Kevin Coleman. Kevin, welcome back to the Orange and Black SoccerCast.
Thank you, man.
So many of you are wondering, hey, what's Kevin up to these days? Well, if you missed it earlier today, he's actually representing Orange County Soccer Club, OCSC Esports, in the recently started USL eCup, and he had his first match of the cup today. Kevin, without giving it away who won yet, how was your experience in your first USL eCup match?
It was definitely exciting. But kind of had some poor connection, which led to my loss. But it was fun. I was excited to play. Obviously didn't get the result today, but we'll be back. We'll bounce back.
Well, let me ask you this. So you said a poor connection. Was that on your end or was that on your opponent's end?
I think it was a bit of both.
Okay.
Latency was a little bit bad, but I think it was a bit of both.
So one question that I have right after the end of that match, because it was actually a really good match. You went down 2-0, and then in the second half, you made some changes. You came back, you actually equalized there in the second half, and they gave up a late goal to drop the match 3-2. But I got to ask you this, are you or any of the other members of the Orange County USL eCup team thinking of protesting this loss because your opponent seemed to make you wait for like an hour before you get started?
I'm not sure if we're gonna protest it. It's actually not a bad shout, but yeah, I mean, it was a bit frustrating, obviously, not to start at 3:30 like it was supposed to go, but but it happens. But yeah, it's a bit frustrating.
It's all a joke, by the way, on that question. I don't expect you guys to really protest anything on this. I think I could tell you were getting frustrated. The OCSC esports account on the Twitch feed was like joking around. Hey, I stepped away for an hour and a half, and what's happened in the match? And nothing had happened yet. So it was pretty interesting. Have you ever experienced anything like that in a real life game situation where you're ready to go and then you're having to wait like an hour and a half before you get started?
Yeah, I mean, like due to like weather, like back on the East Coast when I used to play, sometimes it would get delayed. Games would get delayed because of inclement weather. Just changes all the time. So, but yeah, of course.
Yeah, we don't really know what that inclement weather is out here in Southern California, so that's something new for us out here. Let me hand it off to you, Dylan. Do you have any questions for Kevin?
Yeah, Kevin. Of course, it's the other Kevin on the team, Kevin Alston's 32nd birthday. So, what have you guys been doing to celebrate?
Oh yeah, we're celebrating all right. We went to go get some tacos, Taco Tuesday, for Kev's birthday. But yeah, just kicking it at the crib and playing a little Warzone. So we're all having a good time though.
Ooh. Nice. Alan, how about you? Any questions for Kevin?
So I'm terrible at FIFA, and so how do you go about controlling the ball in the offensive zone? Like you had some pretty nice dribbles there, and I'm about to take notes. So, is it like left trigger, like you right bumper, like how?
It's hard to explain, honestly. In my game, I like to play with a lot of flair. I like to do tricks and I like to dribble around my opponents, just try to embarrass them as much as I can. But yeah, that's just how I play. But yeah, it's hard to explain, honestly. But,
no, you looked. You say you look good out there. Is that like a saying that you use in video games? No, but it was a very entertaining, although albeit a little frustrating to wait. But you played well, and it was fun to watch that style of soccer on the video game, because that's not how I play. I play Man U style where I just try to pack the box and next goal. So.
Let me throw it over to our guest Myke out there on the East Coast. Do you have any questions you have for Kevin on this?
Yeah. So you were obviously given the lesser of the teams to use in this tournament. So Hartford, we got Scotland against Argentina yesterday, and yeah, but we pulled off the upset. But
we don't need to talk about it.
My question for you, though, is when you saw the draw, like, what was the first thing that you thought of? Like, what went through your mind?
I was a bit gutted, to be honest, but, it's not impossible to pull a win. I mean, I almost came back today. But, it wasn't too bad. I mean, Cameroon's an average team. They got a bit of pace. So as long as I have, pace on my team, that's all I need pretty much. But, I was a bit gutted.
Could be gutted with that pick, right? What would your pick have been if you would have had first pick and you actually got to make the choice? Who would you have picked?
That's a tough one. I probably would have picked France just because, who wouldn't want France? And, the best international team.
I think
probably
Alec
would've
takes
chosen
France on his video games when he's not playing in the eUSL Championship, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I think we have Christian back on the line here. He dropped off for a little bit there. Christian, do you have any questions for Kevin Coleman, who unfortunately lost 2-3 in his opening match here in the USL eCup?
Spoilers.
Everyone saw it already.
I guess my only question is, do you feel we talked about how you felt about playing with Cameroon? Do you feel like you can be successful with them in the future? Like, do you think you have a shot in the league?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Today was just one of those slip ups. I mean, I had my chances. I could have took my chances, but it happens. So I think I can definitely, win games with Cameroon.
Well, and when you go down 2-0, you have to take your chances, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the cool thing with Orange County is they were, I think, one of the USL teams to actually go like really into this esports stuff. They created a esports team that competes in the virtual pro gaming VPG League 11v11 pro clubs, which is pretty cool. And I think even the owner, James Keston, is a big FIFA player. I think he's actually one of the members of the team, right?
Yeah, he is.
Do you happen to know out of the 5 of you who's the best player in FIFA?
I don't. I haven't played any of them yet. I haven't seen any of them play yet, so I'm not sure.
Cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to let you get and celebrate more with Mr. Kevin Alston out there. But can I just ask you one quick question? What are you doing to ready for when the season actually does start?
Sorry, I didn't hear your question. It was kind of lagging in and out.
Sorry about that. I was just asking, what are you doing to keep to stay ready or be prepared for hopefully a start to the season soon?
Just been hitting the runs early in the morning with the boys. We'll hit the trails. We got a couple of trails that we go to out here. Just staying fit. Just working out every day. Just practicing on my game. But we can't wait to get back on the field and get the season rolling again.
Yeah, we definitely can't wait for you and the team to get back out there on the pitch. And I'm sure all the USL teams to get out there. We're really sort of pulling our hair out, losing our minds, waiting for all that to start.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's trouble in you guys as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's Kevin Coleman. He's a forward for your Orange County Soccer Club, but currently he is part of the USL eCup team that is hopefully going to be very successful in this iteration of video game soccer that's going on. First, they tried the car version. Now they're doing the FIFA. There's also another league that we'll talk about here a little later with some of the other guests. Kevin, thank you for taking some time out of your evening on Cinco de Mayo, Kevin Alston's birthday, to speak with us. And you have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. We always love when we can get a player on the stream here, especially, we know he's very busy with some other stuff going on right now, which, we appreciate him taking some time out of that from some personal stuff going on, some partying or celebration of a birthday of a teammate there. So that's pretty awesome. So let's get into this then. Let's talk a little this other video game soccer that's going on that all of us except for one person on this podcast is playing in, but the last person is actually still participating as the voice of the Orange and Black SoccerCast portion of the eUSL Championship. Let me go straight to this. Alan, you had your first taste of the eUSL Championship. Wasn't the greatest match, but you kept it close for a little bit. You kept it close for, I think, about 55 minutes, and then just sort of opened your goal up to your opponent.
I thought we were playing indoor soccer, which means like an hour. And then I was like, I can stop playing. And then there was still half an hour to go. And he scored like 22 goals. And yeah, I mean, when the triangle thing gets empty, things go poorly for me. And it was one of those instances where maybe I didn't rank the right substitutes, but all of my triangles were empty and my goal was not. So I ended up losing 5-1. I kept it close. I pulled it back to 2-1, and I felt pretty good. Like I was only down 1 at half. So I thought it was pretty positive, but it didn't. A -4 goal differential is never a good thing.
Never is, but for your debut, and we talked about it before, like jumping in there mid-season. Other players have already gotten sort of or figured things out of how this league works and which team's working best for them. Because you're limited on the quality of team you can use. It's not like you're using the team you probably use every day, like you said, a Man U, or you would use maybe Liverpool, or people using Barcelona or Real Madrid. It's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more thought process goes into it. Let me head over to you, Myke, out there, the voice of the eUSL. For those of you that have missed it, the league puts out goals of the week, top 10 goals of the week, and this is the guy that voices those lists there, and he does a really good job at it. Myke, how have you been doing out there with this whole eUSL stuff, and how are you doing on your season?
Near the bottom of the table, but not at the bottom, so that's okay. I think I'm 1-1-4 right now. 2 blowouts, 2 very close losses, a win, and a draw at the death, which was awful. I was up in the 93rd minute and surrendered a long throw-in volley, which was awful in week 1. So, that one's going to stick with me all season.
You got FIFA.
I'm looking forward to my rightful place in eUSL League One next year after this all goes down. But it's been great. I've made a ton of friends. I'm part of the eUSL PS4 Pro Club team, which I'm actually taking a brief hiatus right now to talk to you guys instead of playing with them. So I'll be back there soon enough. But it's been a great experience overall. And yeah, announcing the games is fun. So I'm doing the top 10 goals of the week every week. And you can see that on Twitter. USL Memes and the eUSL account released that. And I'm also now being asked to do a lot of live play-by-play as well for a lot of PlayStation games. So that's it's been interesting, and it's gone very well to the point where I'm actually now calling Hartford Athletics matches in the USL eCup. So I did that yesterday, which was real fun. Difference being they have real sponsors that need reads versus eUSL. I can just kind of do whatever the heck I want.
Hey, see, so Dylan Allen, like we try and make it legit. We actually have reads that you guys have to do during our broadcast, even though we're not making money off of them, because we do a donation thing. And in each match or episode, we like to sort of highlight a local. Right now, it's been just breweries because that's all I can think of for local businesses to support. By the way, our local brewery this week that we're supporting is Bootleggers Brewery. I believe they're originally from Fullerton up there. I'm drinking the El Chango, which is the Mexican-American style lager, in honor of trying to do a local brewery but celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I figured that would be a good mix right there.
You should try to get your hands on the on Connecticut's finals from Housatonic River Brew Company. Gentle on my mind, New England style IPA, 6.2% alcohol by volume.
This is going to turn into a beer cast right now. I can already tell.
Let's go.
Wait. Before I get to my beer, I am drinking my margarita that I made today, also in honor of Cinco de Mayo. So I'm just going crazy today.
I have some Taco Bell fire sauce. Let's go. Let's go.
This is like a battle, East-West battle here. So I'm like Tupac, Mike's like Biggie. We're just going back and forth here.
And all my sponsorship reads, you can see that's legit, right?
Alan just scribbles them down on his square paper, whatever it's called, the math grid paper. Graph paper, that's what it's called. Yes.
No, the square paper thingy with the math things and the lines that are blue.
With more lines than the other kind of paper.
Yeah. 100% more lines.
The lines that go like this. It's got the lines that go like this, and they meet.
And for those of you listening to the podcast, you have no idea what Dylan was doing with his fingers. So
it doesn't matter.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Right. Let me go to you really quick, Christian. Is your ESL championship season going well? Because I know we spoke with you at the beginning of the season. You were sort of hoping for some wins, but you weren't like thinking you're going to run through the league. How are you doing so
far? Well, it took a sharp downtick after we spoke. I don't know if it was immediately after or like the week after, but I had like a 10-1 loss and an 8-2 loss. Besides that, they'd all been pretty competitive, 2-1, 1-0.
That's
Still all losses though.
That's the Orange County podcast bump right there.
Bump me in the other direction, will you?
Maybe we will this time. Maybe we will.
Yeah. Well,
do you remember who those losses were to, by any chance?
One was to Switchbacks, Colorado Switchbacks, and the other was to Union Omaha.
Oh God, it wasn't FCN for life from the Switchbacks, was it?
Yeah, it was, and I played. It was uncharacteristic because I'd played a couple of friendlies before, and it had always been close. And I just think I had a bad week because the week before that was the one that was like 8-2, and the week before was the Union Omaha game where I got spanked 10-1. So I was in my head for a little bit, I think.
He's one of the strikers on the PS4 Pro Club, so you know.
Yeah,
he's a pro. Obviously.
Which one is this one? The Colorado guy or the Union Omaha guy?
No, it's Switchback. So me, you got Hartford and Switchbacks are the two strikers on the Pro Club team. So, he can definitely score. I don't know if he can defend though. So it should have been at least like an 8-4 loss.
So I got to ask, what's going on in Omaha? Because apparently they have some really good gamers. Because they have one of their actual players is representing the team in the Xbox division. He beat me 5-0, and it wasn't his. He was in control for most of the match. And then you're talking about Christian, how I think you said 10-1 or something like that to the Omaha guy on your side. So I guess Omaha has some good gamers.
Well, the guy I played is also on the team, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so these are real players that are playing in the league, and they're just really good at video game. Maybe they have to switch to video game because they want to. I don't know.
I think it's that competitive spirit, man. Because this guy showed no mercy, like from the beginning. I don't know what it was because I can't usually hear the other people, but I can hear this guy. Like he was mic'd up, and I could hear him. And I don't know if he knew or he didn't care, but like from the get go, he was like, "I'm gonna put up 15 on this guy," and I was like, "Oh shit."
Woo. It's the Xbox side. It was a little bit nicer. He actually joined us right after the match. We played on a Tuesday, so we decided to just like transition right into our podcast from the game because we've been broadcasting the game on our podcast channels. And then so we just switched it right into a podcast. He jumped on right afterwards, hung out with us for about 20 minutes. It was actually a pretty cool experience to welcome on. It's probably one of the first times we welcome on a player from an opposing team was I know his last name is Knutson, Dalton Knutson. So props to Omaha. You guys have some good gamers out there. Myke, do you have any sneak peek at who had the goal of the week this week or has that been released yet? Or do we know what's going on with that? Or
I saw your
submission. It wasn't bully season, was it? It wasn't bully season, or was it?
Bully season is definitely in the top 10. I'll give you that. But I can't reveal whether or not it actually won it. Typically they're released on Wednesdays. Sometimes they make it as far as Thursdays, depending on what's going on. But yeah, it's there's some bully season in there. Yeah.
What did you think of that clip when because I decided I thought it looked so cool and I had to like crop it up when I actually posted it. I created a GIF of it and everything like that. I can't believe, and we talked about it, Dylan Allen and I can't believe there was no foul called either way on that because it was a total just running over of the player, or there was no advantage played either. What did you think of that when you saw that, Myke?
That's FIFA. I have damn near murdered people in the box, and it gives them a foul. Like that's FIFA. It's very inconsistent sometimes. The eUSL championship is probably using the USL championship referees. So
there you go.
It's very consistent with what we're used to at the very least. Yeah.
I do like that Gomes at the end of that play does that whole like just pose to show off his like muscles and just stands there like that, which was I thought was pretty cool for that whole thing. I thought it was just a neat sequence of events. We had a player that was with us the last couple of seasons, Michael Seaton. He was the one that utilized bully season. That was his sort of thing, and it was because he was a very physical player. So when that play happened, I think Dylan, you were the one that first mentioned bully season on the actual live stream that we had there, which just sort of opened it up. Michael Seaton's mom saw it. She liked the tweet. She thought it was pretty cool. So that was a pretty fun thing right there. hand it off to Dylan because Dylan's just been sitting there quiet for about 20 minutes now. Do you have any questions, thoughts, anything you want to ask to either of our guests here about the eUSL Championship or whatnot?
No, but I want in on this USL eCup action. I want to be doing sponsor reads. I want to be announcing these games. And then banned permanently from
our good friends over there in Orange County.
Yeah, what the heck? I got nothing else. Sorry, I got other stuff to do. Probably nothing better. I'll put it off and then I'll do it the last minute because that's what we're up to these days. But yeah, I want to know. I definitely don't announce enough FIFA matches.
It's really been weird because I think that it kind of, with the speed of the game, and obviously in this competition there's 6-minute halves, so you're compressing a whole football game into 12 minutes. It's essentially like a one-person hockey play-by-play. It's more of a hockey type of a play-by-play, what I've been doing, just because, possessions will swap 5 times within one sentence. So yeah, definitely not the stereotypical soccer play-by-play that you're used to. So after that game was over, I was like out of breath. I needed some water. And I was not ready for doing that. Similarly, I've been calling some Rocket League as well. I'm just doing a lot of play-by-play of esports these days, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's just a lot of the high-paced, high-action stuff is really kind of fun. I don't know if it would translate into me actually being a good soccer play-by-play commentator. I probably belong more in the stands than in the booth as far as real soccer is concerned.
Well, I think too, like you think of like real soccer, usually it's a lot more slow pace. There's if you watch a really good soccer play-by-play guy, they're not always talking. Sometimes they're just letting the atmosphere just sort of play over the sound. It doesn't happen as much in the USL, of course, because there isn't as much of that like big stadium atmosphere. But you just watch some really good soccer play-by-play guys, and it's just sort of, a nice, good pace. Don't try and be the star of the show. Let the soccer be the star type stuff. Whereas you're doing this FIFA stuff and you're just trying to stay up with the match and call it. And then, with the FIFA stuff too. And I know Dylan and Alan have had this, worked really hard at this. They've done a great job. It's just knowing who's who on the pitch and what player is where. And, especially when I switch teams mid-season, now they go from a Russian team to a Saudi Arabian league team, having to learn a whole new system, all these new names. It's a lot of fun.
Yes. You figured out that Al Hilal has a very good 1-2 punch up front, huh? Yeah, it's definitely, I've given up on trying to actually call the players on the pitch, because at the end of the day, you're the player, right? So it's all about Ray and it's all about Orange County, not necessarily Al Hilal at that point. So I kind of just take that approach, and just kind of follow the red triangle to see where my man is at, pretty much.
So if you're calling Alan's game, it's an empty red triangle.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Alan.
I've been getting into Tiger Woods calling matches. It's been really kind of a fun experience for me. Calling golf. No.
No.
Oh.
It's great talking to you guys. I gotta go now, permanently, forever.
I mean, it's just more fast paced, Like you don't have to wait for the guy to walk to get to the ball. You just press the button and he's at the ball. It's
not the way I play.
Yeah. Christian, any play-by-play people for you, or do you stick to the video game version?
No, I just play. I don't think I'm a little too quiet. I'm not outgoing enough for all that.
That's why you bring in a play-by-play team, like you bring in Myke, or you bring in Dylan and Alan. They could just call the match for you. I'm sure they'd be willing to do it for free. They don't care.
Yeah, you're the perfect color commentator. You let me talk, and every now and again, you've got something to say.
What are your expectations, Myke? Because we got Christian at the beginning of the season. He sort of gave us what his expectations are of the season. Now that we're sort of close to the midway point, what are you thinking, Myke? Where are you thinking you'll end up? I know you mentioned League One is probably better suited for you. Maybe if Alan switches the PlayStation or you switch to Xbox, you guys can meet each other in League One next season. But what are your hopes and dreams for this? Is it a one season thing, or would you like to see this continuing and growing and becoming something more?
Yeah, no, I'll keep playing. I'll play season after season. I mean, it's, I didn't go into it expecting to win, and prior to the start of the season, I had played literally 3 matches using FIFA 20, and those 3 matches were during the American Outlaws Gamer Cup. So literally, I have, before the season, it was just like, oh yeah, I'll just jump into competitive FIFA and see how that goes, and obviously not that well. But since the start of the season, no joke, I've played. There's a counter about 250 different matches, and I have gotten pretty decent, I guess you could say. I'm definitely better than I was week 1, and I mean, the first friendly I played was 9-2. I got schooled, and I'm finally coming around to being able to beat the guy who did that to me. So. Obviously a little bit of improvement goes a long way. Do I expect to win? Obviously not at this point in the season. Do I expect to maybe get promoted next year? Quite possibly. It's really more about the fun. Like I said before, I've made a bunch of friends. I'm having a bunch of fun. It's not necessarily about the wins or losses. If you watch any of my streams, and I implore everybody to follow the newly affiliated twitch.tv/Myke Fu. That's Mike with a Y. Watch my matches. I turn on party audio. I open the party to the public, and I fill the party. So there's 16 people in every single one of my matches. It's just sometimes we're talking about Tiger King in the middle of a match. I don't know, whatever. But it's fun. I'm having a blast. I'm not taking it too seriously. There's a lot of people out there who are taking it very seriously, and I say good for them. I hope they win. That's not me. I'm in this for the fun aspect of it. So, I expect to come away with some dubs. I expect to have some more defeats. The good thing about my schedule is if you look at the PS4 East table, I have played 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, 5th, and 7th place. So I've already gotten the tough games out of the way. So that's my excuse for being on the bottom of the table. I'm going to run roughshod through the second half. But it's obvious there are some folks out there who are probably, I think one of the Indy 11 guys is going to win the PS4 East. I'll put my money on it, and I said it after week 1. There's 2 guys, Colt Vincent and Connor Swats, who are just amazing. And they're also in the USL eCup. So I'm sure they're.
I was gonna say, I think from what I've seen, Connor's like a pro or something like that, or at least he represents one of the teams or something like that. Or
he'd like you to think so. So he definitely represents Indy. He's really good. I've been watching his streams. He just won. He played FIFA Online Seasons, and I think he lost. I think it was 4 or 5 games in total, going all the way from Division 10 to Division 1, winning the title. Undefeated, I believe, in Divisions 2 and 1. So that kid's really good, and so I think one of them's gonna win. PS4 on the West Coast, that T3 Mach 88. His name's Omar out of Forward Madison. I think he's the guy to beat out there. And I don't know too much about what's happening on Xbox because it's like, who cares about Xbox, right? But as far as the PS4 is concerned. Those guys are. But the cool thing is that even Connor and Omar, those guys are in the pro club, and so being able to play with them kind of has helped me at my game, I think, a little bit. The cool thing is that those guys are willing to. If you watch their stream, they'll tell you exactly what they're doing and how they're gonna beat you, and they'll just do it to you anyway. But at least afterwards, they'll tell you what you can do to get better. So it's kind of cool. Like, they're willing to help out. There are some folks who are very unwilling to help out, and that's just their style, and they're competitive and they want to win. So that's good for them. But yeah, as far as my expectations, if I finish 12th, that would be a win. If I make it to the playoffs, that'll be a miracle. But yeah, that's kind of where my expectations lie at this point in the eUSL.
Christian, have you had any of that experience where you're playing against a tough opponent, but they're sort of giving you pointers at the end, or even in a friendly, just sort of work it out? I know Alan has a similar story, getting some practice games, and he played with someone that gave him some pointers and some tips and whatnot. Have you experienced that too, Christian?
No, not really. Like I said, I'm not much of a talker. I do podcasts, but I'm not much of a talker. Go figure. But no, I kind of, when it comes to the eUSL, I kind of just do my business and if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose, and log out when it's done.
Yep.
Yeah, I like to joke around, and I'm sure Alan and Dylan will say I'm pretty serious about this. I want to win. I go into every match hoping I'm going to win. But I'm also to this point, I've had some opportunities to really blow out some opponents, and I've sort of let off the gas a little bit here and there because I don't want to be that jerk, because I know everyone's faced one of those players where they just keep scoring and scoring and scoring. I know I did that to Alan in a friendly, just sort of trying to get him prepared for the league because he hadn't played yet, and I wanted to let him know this is how it's going to be. People are going to keep going. So I did that. But in the actual matches, I've sort of not done that. I've only had 1 or 2 opportunities to do so, but I've tried my best to at least be a nice opponent when it comes to that situation.
So I think you're going about this all wrong. Goal differential and goals scored matters in this league. So just keep your foot on the gas as much as possible. There was a couple of weeks ago, and no names shall be said, but there was a little bit of a scandal because one of the players on the lesser system, the one from Microsoft, had a series of messages sent to a couple different opponents, basically saying, "Hey, once it's 4-0, just lay off the gas, and it'll just be a forfeit, and this and that, and don't run up the score." And then got into these rules of, "Oh well, you can't actually play if the keeper has a bad pass, you can't score on it." So some people are trying to stack the deck. I say just pedal to the metal, and if you can score 20-0, just do it, because Connor Swats is going to do it. And if you want to beat him in goal differential by the end of the season, you've got to do it. So I say take advantage of it. If you have an opponent that's as bad as me, who's going to give you double-digit scores, just do it. Rub their face in the dirt. It's bully season. Let's go.
Why can't I play you, Alan, anymore? Why did you have to replace the one I already played so I can't run up the score like that?
That's real rude, Ray. That's real rude. And I believe I scored 2 against you the last time we played a friendly. It was 5-2. So
yeah, I mean, you did. You're getting better. You're getting better.
Wonder Bread is on the rise.
Well, here's the way I look at it, though, right? Because we're doing an American version of soccer here, so there's a playoff. So I think if I can at least make the playoffs, then I have a chance to still beat you in the playoffs, and it doesn't matter. All this goal differential crap doesn't matter, because if I beat you in the playoffs, that's all that matters. So I look at it as I don't want to be that jerk to people. Right now, I think I'm sitting 7th in the table. I'm coming into a pretty balanced part of the schedule where I'm playing players that are at least around me in the table. I do still have some of the tense towards the end. I know I was looking recently. My very last match is against one of the top opponents. I can't remember who it is. I'm still scared to face, the guy from Phoenix, the guy from San Diego, other than Alan. And there's there that I still have to face that are going to be difficult on the Xbox West side. But I will say this, the X is a very tough division. I don't know how you guys are doing on yours, but there are some good players on the Xbox West. It's not a walk in the park, for all I can say. And yeah, that's what it is. Enough video game talk. Let's see. Is there any real soccer stuff we could talk about before we have to wrap things up here? I'm going to go to you, Dylan, because you've just been sitting there. Not much to talk about when it comes to playing video games. If this was Rocket League, Dylan would be all over it, but this is FIFA. Doesn't play much of it.
Let's talk Rocket League. Let's talk Rocket League. Come on.
Oh, you missed that podcast. That was a couple of podcasts ago, I think.
Well, there's a new supporters league starting next week. The SGL, right? They're starting next week. I think.
Have you heard about that, Dylan? Have you gotten any information on that, Dylan? Because I know you were supposed to jump on that.
Yeah, the last thing I actually heard about that was that whoever was organizing it just ghosted the guy who's organizing it for our team. So just kind of assumed it had fallen through and nothing was going to happen. So
that's a shame.
But I don't know if that's accurate. I just took that at face value and didn't care and went back to taking a nap. It was having one of those days, but
good enough.
Maybe my public gaming career will have to wait a little bit longer to start, which is probably for the best.
We'll get you to buy a FIFA game, learn some FIFA, and you can join the eUSL next season. I think the expansion fee is only going to be like $5,000 or something like that.
Oh, well, that's down on the ground floor. I'm going to buy someone's license when they fold. Is that too real?
If it's $5,000, I'll sell you
Miami?
team right
Is
now.
that too real?
Absolutely.
I heard Fresno has one just kind of floating around and somewhere in reality, so maybe I can get that one for a deal or something.
Yeah.
I'll just take the old Fury one.
I will be
go
moving down.
Alan.
I will be moving down to the USL Academy for next season.
Oh, you want to get your ass kicked by a bunch of kids?
Hey, my son will be in that league, Alan. I don't know if you want to face that league.
No,
man.
those kids are good. Those I prefer playing against like 35-year-olds. They're not as good as the 5-year-olds.
We'll have to get you.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
Mike,
guys have
we'll have to
lives,
get,
so.
if you ever get an Xbox, Mike, let me know. We'll get you on a friendly with my son. He's 7 years old. He played Alan, and Alan barely escaped with a victory, and then drew against him in the second match. So, sorry to call you out on that, Alan.
Hey, that dub's a dub, man.
But when you get to that academy, you're going to face those little kids that I hate with my kids. I hate when I have to play any game other than FIFA with them because they whoop my behind when it comes to any of that stuff because I have no idea what's going on. We talked about it last week with Smash Brothers and some of these other games. It's just crazy.
See, I love. I'm not great at FIFA, but I am really good at Madden, and I love decimating like my young nephews in Madden. Like, oh my God, they're like, oh yeah, they're gonna just run a man blitz every time. I'm just gonna pass over their head and run up the score like Ray should be doing when he plays FIFA. Like, yeah, play Madden against a 7-year-old, and I guarantee you're coming away with the dub.
If it's not Joe Montana football, I'm not playing that version of a football game. So let's do this. Real soccer news to talk about, because I think in the last week there's been some interesting stuff that's happened. I know there was some court stuff or some stuff going on with the U.S. women's team and the equal pay fight.
Yeah.
Dylan, do you want to take this topic?
I'm not laughing about this. I'm still stuck on the Madden train of thought that I had 20 seconds ago. Are we surprised by the news?
Well, for our listeners that may not know what we're even talking about,
I feel like
just
I'm not
maybe
the
give
one
a
to give this
quick background.
This background. I think
Alan,
that
do
might
you
be
want to
Alan.
do it? Who wants to do it? Who?
The equal pay. A judge threw out one part. So basically, what you do when you go to court is a civil suit. You do summary judgment. You can claim summary judgment. The judge just looks at it based on face value and then can make a determination if it's overwhelming evidence one way or the other. They can just make a ruling at that point and win or lose. So part of the case is still going forward in things like, chartered flights and those kind of extra things. But the judge said you can't bargain for a CBA and then come back and said you would have made money under a different CBA if you had been under this different CBA. And so there's like a lot of legalese, and they can appeal, and I'm assuming that they will. And there are some things that you have to prove in order to prove wage discrimination, and a lot of it's like legal argument. And I think the judge was probably playing it safe legally and saying, well, you got paid by your CBA and you made more than the men did. But if you look at if they got paid the way the men did, they would gotten paid significantly more. So there's still some arguments to be made. And I'm going to dig into this tomorrow because we're going to talk about this exclusively tomorrow on Fairweather Podcast.
But I don't want to steal all your.
No. But I think it's like
a
legal opinion based on some legal facts about bargained contracts. You can't say you would have made money out of this, then why didn't you just bargain for that? And so there's some legal arguments that I think they can make going forward. They weren't ever offered that. They weren't ever offered the same kind of treatment. So it should be if whatever's offered for the men is offered for the women. But I need to read a little bit more into the legalese of that ruling. But I know that there's a huge chunk going forward. I think they only ruled against them on one of 3 different counts, I think. And some things about facilities and chartered planes and a lot of that stuff can still go forward. But he ruled against them just about the wage and the collective bargaining. So I need to do a little bit more reading, but that's kind of what I've got.
That's why you ask the guy who's married to a lawyer.
Definitely, right?
A legal situation. I have to say the women should not be paid equally to the men. Hear me out, because the men really should not be paid at all because they are terrible. And the most impressive thing they've done in an international tournament happened before, what, 3 generations ago?
That the victory
The
against Spain and
30s?
some like. Oh, you're talking about the 30s.
Oh,
I know they had the win against
50?
Spain like before the South Africa World Cup, and that was like the big highlight recently. But yeah, if you go back, they weren't really that great until back what Dylan trying to say.
Winning a friendly game is pretty stupid. Like, being proud of that. I mean, it's a country of 330 million people, and the best we can do is Pulisic. There we go.
Yeah, we beat Germany's B team a few years, in 2014, right? And the Netherlands on that same Euro trip, right? And escaped the group of death at that World Cup. Come on, that's something, right?
There we go.
And all the while, that meantime, the
bar
women's
is
team
so
just
low.
winning World Cup after World Cup after
There we go.
World Cup.
Yep.
And I'll be honest. Right now, at this point in my international soccer life, I watch the women's team more than I watch the men's team. It's just entertaining, and I don't know. It's there hasn't been this great press or great amazing vision from the men's team since Dylan said the 30s, I guess.
I guess
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean-
1950. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
I was going to say, the optimism following the 2018 Gold Cup, very optimistic. And then obviously we know what happened there. And ever since then, I mean, at our local pub for, our American Outlaws pub, the women draw more than the men on a consistent basis, to the point where during this last Women's World Cup, the final, they had to stop letting people in 2 hours before the game because the fire marshal was going to shut the place down. So I think the only time they ever had a bigger crowd, and this is in an area outside of around New York City, was in the '94 Stanley Cup final. And so that really goes to show you, everyone's rallying around this women's team. Everyone except for U.S. Soccer at this point, evidently. It's just absurd. The federation is the only one who's not rallying around the team that they are fielding. And I mean, yeah, it's kind of absurd that it even went to court, let alone got this result there. But I do understand what you're saying as to why it got it, because the precedent and the legal opinion, but still not right.
Really quick, Christian, I just want to give you a chance to share your thoughts on this, and then we're going to move on to a couple of the topics before we have to wrap things up here.
Oh, no, honestly, by all means, move on. For fear of sounding ignorant or naive, I'm not too knowledgeable on this, so I'm going to refrain, or abstain, rather.
Perfect. No worries. Thanks for being honest. Let's talk. The USL has a plan, I guess, to start allowing at least small groups of training for these clubs opening up here soon. Again, our limit here. Just quick thoughts. I'll go to you first, Dylan.
I mean, maybe a little bit early, but I think everywhere is starting to open up a little bit. All these guys live together anyway, basically on all these teams, so they might as well. I mean, if you look at it, the guest we had on earlier, Kevin Coleman, was working out with Hugo Okoli and Nathan Smith and Kevin Alston and Darwin Jones this morning. So they've already all been exposed to each other. They might as well work out together and have some semblance of a team when we start up in a couple months, or whenever we do start up.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Training's fine. I think still we should remain not so hopeful that we will get games in the near future. Teammates training together is one thing, but when you start introducing referees, when you start introducing training staff, from other teams, you start having to open things up a little bit more. Then you start getting into people who are being exposed to other people who they aren't normally. Asymptomatic transmissions are a thing. So it's not like you can just check temperatures on your way into the soccer stadium. But I think if you can test your players and keep just the players together, you can create kind of a closed environment of sorts. I think Dylan's right. You talk to these guys who, especially newer signings, they're put in team housing in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rooming with 2 or 3 teammates regardless. So now you're just kind of reintroducing into like a bigger house. And if you want to house them in a smaller compound, or I think it's doable, but maybe know when you're going to start before you start training, I guess. Because what's the point in like actual training if you're still 3-4 months off from playing actual matches, or just canceling a season starting up in March? But I think some light training, some stuff like that is going to be fine.
And forgive me, because I don't really know what's going on in Connecticut as far as lockdowns and all that stuff, but I do know Texas is trying to start opening things back up a little bit more than some of these other states, which is where Christian's at. What are your thoughts with this all going on? Opening is being viewed out there in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, you mean like in general? Or are we still talking about
in general, and you can share your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that personally, where I am in El Paso, things have not been great as far as cases and all that goes. But I have seen a lot of businesses being smart, and even though they were given the green light, they are, making their own decision of still staying closed, which I think is good until things do considerably get better, which just isn't the case right now. So the rest of the state, I can't really speak for. Texas is Texas, and they're going to do what they're going to do. All the stereotypes.
I guess that was sort of bad on me, because I think El Paso sort of leans more towards like the whole thing of like New Mexico, because you're pretty much New Mexico right there. You're way closer to New Mexico than you are to say Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, and all that.
No, it's, without getting too into it, El Paso is different than a lot of the rest of Texas. I will say that much.
Yeah, definitely. What about out there in Connecticut, Myke? How are the thoughts on getting some players back together and getting training for hopefully a season?
Yeah, I mean, we, obviously, like you said, the players are living together for the most part, and have been very careful to be as isolated as possible. So, starting up those types of team activities, small workouts and everything, I think it's okay. I mean, these guys are already going on runs together, and they have dedicated workout times. Obviously, a lot of the virtual stuff, but they've been quarantined and have not really been in touch with anybody in the public. So starting on that smaller scale, I think it's cool. But I mean, I still don't think we're really close to the point where we can even consider having matches closed door, let alone with fans inside the stadium. It's where we are, and especially where I am. So I am about 60 plus miles outside of New York City, which, as you know, is kind of was the first epicenter of this crisis in this country. And it was really fast and furious, kind of really hitting us hard. And, even though we're seeing a decline in cases now, in new cases in the greater New York City area, including Hartford, it's the rest of the country is still going up. It's still trending upwards if you look at the metrics. So sure, we can start having practices, but until every single city around the entire country is able to actually see that decline, how are we supposed to reopen with anything other than just, us playing New York Red Bull 2 every single week, because that's all we can trust at this point. And that's not what a derby season is not necessarily what's in the cards for me. As long as we're being smart about it, and once we get to the point where we can reopen, I'll be the first one in the stadium, right? But it's obviously we gotta practice due diligence until we get to that point. And I think all the teams are being very careful, and the league is being very careful. If they thought that we were reopening anytime soon, we wouldn't have the USL eCup happening right now. Like, I mean, the writing's kind of on the wall with an event like that. So it's, we're just going to have to see what happens. As far as the players working out, great. Let them stay fit. They need to stay fit. They're professional athletes. They can't be sitting inside playing FIFA all day. Like some of us can, you know what I mean? But it's when it's time for matches, it'll be time for matches. But until then, I'm still cautious about reopening. I'm cautiously optimistic we can actually have some semblance of a season this year. But obviously got to be very careful with this and avoid that dreaded second wave that we've heard so much about.
Definitely. And it's cool. Like you've all said, it's cool to get like some of these small group gatherings together for some training, some practices in hopes of a season. Props to the USL for taking the approach they've taken, because they are not this league that has all this revenue from TV sponsorships, just regular sponsorships and whatnot. These are clubs that really need the fans, really need the matches, really need the games to truly survive. So the fact that they're taking this at the pace that they are is props to them for worrying more about the safety and the health of their players, their staff, the fans, and their communities, as opposed to just trying to bring the money in that they really do need and whatnot. So good on that. Really quick, a couple other things just to talk about. One of the things that Orange County started last year and they're bringing back this year, and I guess it's a way to sort of interact with the community and the fans, is they are bringing back the pro experience for this season. For those of you who don't know, the pro experience is basically just sort of this extra training and interaction with staff, coaching players with the team. So they're going to be doing like Zoom trainings this season. They're going to be doing, I lost my wording on there. Let me just read what they emailed me on this, though, by the way. So they are reintroducing the pro experience. They're going to offer a 30-day free trial or free experience for anyone that registers in the month of May. You get behind the scenes training and education from the staff, coaching players and whatnot. It's great for youth soccer players and adults, soccer players, coaches and whatnot in that. So definitely look at that. And part of that, you get like tickets to matches and stuff like that. So it's really good value for anyone that is looking at ways maybe to stay involved in soccer. Maybe their kid is a youth player that needs just some way to be able to interact and get some training done. So there's opportunities to maybe join in some Zoom trainings and get some work in with some professional coaching staffs and players on that. So you can look into that if you need to by going to the team's website and looking for the pro experience section on there. And then I don't know, is there anything else going on, or I think that's about it that we should talk about, because we are definitely hitting our limit. We like to keep it at an hour if we can. Let's get into it. Let's get into our random thoughts of the evening. Christian, you've been on before, so I think you sort of remember this, but Myke, just let you know, we like to end each episode with just a random thought. Doesn't have to be soccer related. It could be anything. You could be like Dylan and tell us what book we have to read or poem we have to read. So we'll start with Dylan. What book are we reading this week, Dylan?
Nothing, but pourquoi pas apprendre un nouvel langue instead, which is to say, why not learn a new language or another language? We have a ton of time.
Is Rosetta sponsoring you now, Dylan?
No, that's not what I use. But, we're all connected. We're all stuck at home right now all over the world, so you can talk to other people in different countries and listen to podcasts in different languages and read the news and listen to the news and watch the news in different languages. And because we're all experiencing the same thing around the world right now, most of the news is pretty easy to pick up because of that. Maybe they speak quickly for you, but hey, why not? We could all be better world citizens if we all spoke more than one language. And to prove that, club owner James Keston exclusively speaks to club captain Michael Roscoe in Spanish, which is kind of cool to watch happen. I should have picked up Spanish, but
you did French instead. Alan, what about you?
My random thought is something that's been on my mind a lot recently with the talk of bringing school back and doing it in a fashion that is going to be different than your children are used to. My concern is always that make sure that when you as a community think about what education looks like, that you always include the arts in the conversation. Are frequently left out when we talk about public schools. But just like athletics is a huge part of kids' school experience, the arts is the same. And those types of programs are what keeps kids who are on the fence in school. So when you're thinking about coming back as a community, also think about all of the students and all of the parts of the student that those needs need to be met. So make sure that you're not shortchanging your students just to rush back into a classroom. Think about every student, how those programs affect them. Just something to keep in your mind as we start planning on what school's going to look like in a couple months.
I don't think you all heard it that well, but hey.
Out of an average trombone during a 3-minute song. Okay, he's gone. Look what you've done, Ray.
I did it. I think he knew it was coming before he even ended, because he started taking his headphones off before he ended his speech.
Christian, what's your random?
Christian, what about you? A random thought for the evening?
It's a little more lighthearted than the last ones. But guys, I live in a desert, and gardening in the desert is tough. Been trying to beautify my yard a little bit, and I've been doing a lot of failing. I have one successful plant, and it's an aloe vera, so it's a cactus. I live in a desert. It better live. So yeah, it's tough. I'm sure it's probably a lot easier with the climate where you guys are, but here in the desert, it's rough.
I'm sure it's easier here, but I think technically, at least where I am in California, it's technically considered a desert type area.
No, we live in a
Dylan,
chaparral.
am I wrong? Huh?
Yes, you are wrong. We live in a chaparral.
Okay. Dylan's smarter than me. He more recently finished high school than I did, so that's why he's smarter than me.
That's not where I live.
Myke, what's your random thought for us?
Taiwanese baseball is lit. Watch it. Oh my God.
How excited are you about
soccer podcast?
Taiwanese baseball?
You said I could talk about whatever I want. Listen, the Fubon Guardians are first pitch is only a couple hours away. Korean baseball is about 20 minutes away from first pitch. I've been watching a lot of this Asian baseball. It's a party out there, man.
Sir, yeah. This is an Arby's.
Okay, so I guess Asian baseball is the way to go if you want to watch some actual live sports instead of video game sports or grown men talking about sports and video games on a podcast / video stream here. My random thought, I guess I want to say is I know I posted on our social media about potentially doing a Orange and Black SoccerCast jersey, maybe sort of to go with what we're doing with the eUSL Championship, and just sort of to have something branded with us and something on there. We're working on final designs. I'm waiting for mock-ups on it. Once I have them, we're going to discuss it, figure out a design to go with, and we'll let you guys know what it looks like. If anyone's interested, we'll definitely give you an outlet or how you can go ahead and show your interest and potentially purchase one of these things. I think they'll be pretty cool. I know Dylan, Al, and I have looked at some of the mock-ups, and we sort of like a couple of them. They actually look very interesting and very fun. And yeah, I think we're leaning towards an orange color because I know that's always a fun color to have when you're at an Orange County Soccer Club game as well.
Wait, what?
Dylan. Really quick before we wrap things up, I want to give everyone a chance to let our listeners know where they can hear more or listen to more or read more social media stuff. So let me go to you first, Christian. Where can our listeners follow you, listen to you, watch you, whatever?
Yeah, personally, I'm at twitter.com/fly, FLY13091. And also, like you said, I'm part of Seriously Loco. We're at Twitter at Seriously Loco. We're not putting out a lot of content right now, unfortunately. But hopefully once soccer gets back up, we'll get it back into that rhythm.
Perfect. And what about you, Myke?
Oh man, I don't know if there's enough time left in the day, but I'll give it a whirl. So personally, you can find me on all the platforms at Myke Foo. That's Myke with a Y, MYKEFOO. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, all the good stuff. Definitely subscribe to me on Twitch. I'm affiliated now. Come on, buy me a coffee. And then the Nutmeg State podcast. You can find us on Twitter. At Nutmeg_State. We're also on Instagram, Nutmeg State Pod, and on Facebook, Nutmeg State Pod. If you want to listen to us, we're obviously on all.
Wait, the pause. We're waiting for it.
Oh,
Wow, Alan, that was beautiful. That is
thank you.
decades of music education that let him hear that note.
This is why
and
we
5
need the
seconds
arts
later
in school.
come by. Yeah, that's impressive.
I think what he was trying to say is we're on all the major podcast platforms. That's probably what he was saying. I'm just best guessing on that. Hopefully we'll get it back on before we wrap things up, just to sort of clarify that. Dylan, we'll go to you next. Where can our listeners follow you, find you?
Oh,
wait, he's back. He's back.
He's kind of back.
I don't know what just happened, guys. I was just trying to talk about the beautiful game network sponsored by Ruffneck Scarves and Icarus FC. Are you guys there?
We are here.
We are here.
You heard it.
Oh, do it. Do an ad read. Do an ad read. He's a pro. Do an ad read. Tired of the same old.
Nutmeg State is brought to you by Ruffneck Scarves. If your neck is rough, put a scarf on it. Ruffneck. And then it's a great podcast. We really focus mainly on Connecticut soccer, all levels from youth to high school to semi-pro to the pro with Hartford Athletic. My co-host Seton O'Connor from the Dan Patrick Show. Any of you guys probably know who he is more so than me.
He's your co-host?
Seton's
your co-host?
Yeah, Seton's my co-host.
Damn.
I
get stuck with Dylan and Alan. You get Seton.
Whoa.
I was just typing that. Like, he gets stuck with the two of us.
Alan had the right thought there.
Yeah, it's
Alan wasn't even upset about it.
Nope.
Yeah, but Dylan's a good name because Hartford Athletic plays at Dillon Stadium. So you see, I appreciate his name.
I don't know if he spells it like you guys do, but whatever.
I don't know. It's a historic stadium. So be glad you were named after it. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, and the supporters group I'm a member of, the Mad Hat Massive Supporters. Give them a little follow. Absolutely amazing Twitter account. Lots of focus on New Haven style pizza, which is the best pizza in the world. If you haven't had it, you have not had real pizza. And I think that's it. I can talk more about pizza if you want, but I don't think you want. That's my random thought of the day. New Haven pizza is the best pizza in the world. Don't worry about Taiwanese baseball. That's my random thought of the day.
Let's go to the best co-host there actually is. That's Dylan. Dylan, where can our listeners follow you?
Oh, it's actually Alan.
No, you're the best. He's gonna go, and now the worst co-host a podcast can ever hope for. Like, I'm like so bottom of the barrel. Like, I get excited when people are scraping the bottom of the barrel because that means it's gonna be my turn next.
Nice.
That's what that means.
One of you share with where they could follow you.
Yeah, if you've somehow made it to the end of this podcast, my apologies for the last hour and 15 minutes. You can find me on Twitter at OCSC_Dylan or on Reddit /u/OCSC_Dylan or on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/ScottsBedroom.
He's a rapper.
Yeah, I mumble rap. So I like to do Xanax, and then Elon Musk named his baby a bunch of random things, and it's Karl Marx's birthday, and my stapler. Hey, Alan, where can people find you on the internet?
Fire.
You can find me at A_Underwood48 on the Twitter machines.
We got to turn that into an actual song for you now, Dylan. We'll get like a techno beat or something, or one of those grimy beats behind it. We'll just put it on repeat, whatever. You can follow me on Twitter at DJ Ray some more. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast. You can look for the podcast on Facebook, orangeandblacksoccercast.com. We're on Pinterest. We're on Instagram. Look for us on all those. Just search for us. You'll find us. You can also go to our website, OCSCpodcast.com, to watch or to listen to any of our previous episodes, to hear what we used to sound like when we first started to where we are now.
Not much has changed.
Not much has changed.
It's gotten worse in a worse way. It's gotten worse than when we started.
In a better way, it's gotten worse than where we started. And look for Dylan Allen on the play-by-play of my next match. I believe right now it's going to be on Thursday. I haven't let them know yet, so they're finding out for the first time here too. Probably on Thursday is my next match, so look for it then. I want to once again thank Kevin Coleman for taking some time out of Cinco de Mayo to come join us on the podcast. I also want to thank our guests, Christian and Myke, for taking time out of their evening to join us on the podcast, especially you, Myke. You're way out there on the East Coast. I know it's late for you, Christian, too, but Myke has you beat by an hour or two, so got to give props for that.
Don't worry, I'm staying up for first pitch in Seoul. We still have
That's not a joke. We still have 17 minutes until first pitch.
Just listen to that girl singing what's in she wants to know what's inside your butthole for 17 minutes. It'll be good. It'll be good.
What are you watching on Twitter, Alan?
All right,
look it up.
I'm
It's
going to
adorable
end this
one.
before it turns
Alan
into.
is in the dark web these days.
Oh,
There we go.
Jesus.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.
You have been listening to the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. For the latest Orange County SC news and information, visit our website, ocscpodcast.com. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Ruffneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at ruffneckscarves.com.
Tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday league squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com.
And we're also part of BGN, so don't forget about that. Beautiful Game Network. Look for them also, and you can find our guest there as well. Awesome. Have a good evening.